My name, I forgot my name. Frank Subasic. November 26, 1940.
Okay, and where were you born?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay. How many family members did you have?
Five.
So,
I'm sorry. Well, you including parents or just siblings?
so you two parents.
Two parents and five siblings.
Who did you work for starting at what age? Like your first job?
Um, well, actually, my first job was I worked in a shoe repair shop, um, shining shoes and repairing shoes, and that was in the seventh grade.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Yeah. And then I worked at that job, and I worked in a dairy store during high school.
When did you start to work for the RV business?
Oh, a long time after that. That was 1950. When I graduated from high school in 1958, I went to work in the Heinz factory in Pittsburgh.
Ketchup.
Yeah, that and a few other things. Yeah, Heinz ketchup and pickles and spaghetti sauce and canned goods and all kind of things. That was my first job out of high school. And then I decided to go back to school. And so I worked that job. And, well, I worked another job working on a coating line, aluminum and steel coating line in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to school full time while I was working full time.
Wow.
So then my first job after school was in a steel plant in Pittsburgh,
Uh-huh.
not too far from where your Grandma Miller and Grandpa Miller lived. I was in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, East McKeesport.
Oh.
Okay, but you probably don't need that information.
And so, when did you start to work for the RV business that Uncle Scott does right now? Isn't that it?
Well, I started in that in 1972.
Okay. And how has that changed from then to what Uncle Scott's doing like now?
Um,
Has it like changed like certain aspects in it?
well, technology has allowed us to do many things with the products that were impossible to do previously. When I started in the RV industry in 1972, you couldn't make an RV, either a travel trailer or a motorhome, that was wider than 8 foot because it was too wide to go over the highways.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a Department of Transportation, a federal regulation that says you can't make it any wider than 8 foot. But the customers who were using this product wanted it wider, so they started, 20 years later, they started building slides that expand the room, the width of the travel trailer after you get it parked. It could be a travel trailer or a motorhome. Expand an RV.
Mm-hmm.
So that revolutionized the RV industry, and in 1991, for example, probably 10% of everything we built had a slide on it. And when I retired in 2001, probably 70% of everything being built had at least one slide out. Some had two slide outs, and some had three slide outs.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, slide out. Yeah, that's an expandable room. You know what a slide out is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it changed the paradigms in the sense that we were still building an 8 foot wide product when it was closed up, but when the customer got to their use point, they could press a button and electronically they could expand the width of the RV.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was a dramatic improvement, but it took about 10 or 15 years to get past the, hey, what the heck is that crazy thing stage, you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to think outside the box, and I think that's noteworthy to say that the slide-out mechanism, that technology, now there was other electronics that went along with that, but that was probably the most dramatic change in the product since I was there. Now, the computers changed the way we ran our business, and in some cases it changed our designs too, because we had computer-aided design where our design department, which was located in California, could make three-dimensional drawings on a computer.
Oh, yeah.
And so it meant that you don't have gas lines coming up in the middle of the sink or something silly like that. So yeah, there's technology definitely changed the whole world of the RV industry.
What was your first computer?
Computer was a PC probably the size of a small desk.
Wow.
And had to be in a atmosphere controlled room, and there was a lot of special handling circumstances, and it probably didn't have as much capacity as your laptop that you're currently using.
Yeah. Where was the computer kept?
We had temperature and humidity control in this room, and then we evolved into having our own CPU, central processing unit, and on site, and then we connected through long line to a central computer in Southern California, 3,000 miles away.
Wow.
So that was kind of breakthrough at the time.
When did you get your first television?
Let's see, 1949 would be my guess, but I'm not real sure. Grandma W bought her first house that was half of a house in Pittsburgh, and I think the price of it, the half of the house, was $3,500.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And cars were selling for, new cars were probably selling for $3,000, $2,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens with inflation.
Yeah. What technological advancement affected your place of business the most, and how?
I would say the computer is still, there were other advances, but that one probably had such a far-reaching impact that was probably the biggest one that affected us.
And that was in Pittsburgh?
Negative. I was in, the plant was in Hancock, Maryland, and I was living in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia.
I know where that is.
I thought you might.
So, what's the biggest change between you growing up and kids growing up today?
Access to information.
Okay, and do you think this access to information is good?
Absolutely. I think it expands capabilities of all people who participate.
What did you do when you were at home, homework and stuff like that when you were little?
Well, you know, I read a book by a regular light and did homework with a pencil and paper and no computers. There were no such thing as computers at that time. So, and then you had to know how to get into the library and know the Dewey Decimal System for library cataloging. I mean, it was really ancient stuff. You probably don't even learn that now, do you?
No.
No, I didn't think so. And it was interesting. Uncle Sean went through 5 years of engineering at Penn State and never picked up a slide rule. Well, when I was post-high school, I was dealing with slide rules, and they were a big status symbol if you had the biggest and fanciest slide rule.
What's a slide rule?
It's a manual calculator. That's the best way I can describe it.
Oh, wow. So you had to do the math in your head?
In my head or on the slide rule.
Oh, ew.
So it was really a mini calculator, but it was manual.
Do you think that the technology available for kids today, do you think it has a bad part to it?
Well, the short answer to that is no, I don't think it has a bad part, but I think all new things have a bad potential if improperly used. but I think expansion in knowledge is dramatically positive for the individual as well as society in general.
I thought that the interview with my grandpa was very interesting. I had no idea how much computers played a role in his business and life as much as it did. Today we take them for granted and don't appreciate how much of a use to us they really are. We use them from everything to trying to find a recipe, gaming, social media, and the news. Computers and laptops are a very common thing today, but they played a huge part in the manufacturing of my grandpa's business, and it helped him advance and grow his business. Another thing that I found surprising was that the price of the house his mom bought was only $3,500 for half a house. I knew that because of inflation, the prices of objects that my grandpa grew up with have raised since then, but I didn't realize it had climbed that much. My house was bought for about $350,000, which is about 100 times that amount. That is a very big price difference and was very shocking to me. Something I didn't expect to hear from my grandpa was that he thinks the technology and information available for kids growing up today is a good thing. I would have thought that he thinks it's a bad thing because we don't learn to research and go to the library as well as he did when growing up. When doing the interview over Skype, I realized that my grandpa, for being a baby boomer, is very tech savvy compared to others his age. He has grown with technology as it has advanced for the most part, and this didn't really hit me until this interview. This interview showed me how much technology actually grew over my grandpa's life. It has evolved so much and made my life easier and different in so many ways compared to my grandpa growing up. I am going through high school with a laptop on hand for every class, and computers weren't even invented while he went through high school. They were just coming up with handheld calculators. Overall, this interview taught me a lot about technology and my grandpa.